Okay, I was going to do a little test on the body before we go full on into the polishing. I'm going to be starting with the 105 Maguire's, the Ultra Cut. This bottle is almost pretty much empty. I have another one. I just figured I would use what is left in the bottle as a little test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of water, and I'm going to just dampen the buffing pad. I'm going to put a bit on my hand and just rub it on the pad like this. Just a little bit helps spread the compound around a little better. Yeah, this is pretty much empty. I'm going to just do this little section here on the guitar because I got some scuff marks here and some scratchy marks here, and I just want to see what kind of results we're going to get because I don't want to start buffing the whole guitar to find out I need to wet sand it. So it's kind of like taking a step forward and a step back. So this is just a little test to see how this is going to work. So I like to go like that with it, just to spread it around a bit. And when you start your drill up, especially if it's a lot of liquidy compound on here, you want to go slow, otherwise you're going to spray it everywhere. So just take your time. I'll probably have to mute the video during the edit because this is going to be loud. So here we go, just go nice and slow. Take my microfiber rag and wipe off the compound. Okay, so first impressions, I see a definite improvement here. Not much here with the pick scratches, and a little bit here with the deeper scratches here. So when you're doing this type of thing, like you're going to need to do 3, 4, 5 passes with this stuff for it to really be a noticeable difference. Like doing it once is not going to do much unless it's very lightly scuffed. In this case, we've got a lot of scratches to deal with. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stick to this side of the guitar here, and I'll use up what's left in the bottle, probably get 2 or 3 more passes out of that, and then I'll see where we're at that point. So same procedure. I'll stop the video and we'll come back to it. Okay, I've done several passes with the 105 compound in this area of the guitar here. And I think I did about 6 or 7, and really good results. I'll show you from this perspective first. We had all those pick scratches in this area here. Those are pretty much gone. And then over here, we had a lot of scratches in this upper area here. I was able to get, I'd say 90% of them out. There's still a few up here, but I mean, you really got to get the light in the right angle to really see that. So let me zoom you in so maybe we can take a closer look at this. And so you can kind of see in the light there, right in this area here, there's a few little scratches. But compared to what it was, that's pretty good. And if we move over here where those pick scratches were, they're pretty much gone. Which I thought was awesome. I was pretty confident those would come out. Those were just like almost scuff marks from the pick. The guy was picking like this, I guess, and he was scraping the guitar. So just zoom you back out here. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that. I did go over this a few more times just in this one area, and it really wasn't making any difference. So I guess that's a little beyond what we're able to do with the buffing. But considering the results everywhere else, I'm pretty happy. I think we're just gonna live with those little scratches there. And it is a used guitar. I mean, you're gonna get some scuffs and scratches on it. So I'm not trying to bring it back to factory condition or whatever. So thought I'd show you that. And this is just the 105. We still are going to apply the 205 polishing compound, which will really give this a nice shine and really look nice and deep, glossy black. And it might help take a little bit of this out, but if the 105 isn't doing it, the 205 won't improve that, I don't think. But it'll definitely make it look better overall. So that being said, I'm going to finish off this side of the guitar here. I'm not going to film it because it's the same procedure I already showed you. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll flip her over and take care of the backside. I started wet sanding the back of the guitar. I originally was not going to wet sand the whole body. I was only going to wet sand those repair spots that we had shown earlier. But as I was doing it, I thought, you know what, let's just do the whole back because there was a lot of scratches in this area. And, I'd already been soaking the sandpaper. So I thought, yeah, what the heck, I'll film it and show you guys how I do it. So what I've done here is I've done, well, I guess about 2/3 of the guitar. I left this spot up here. That was one of the repairs. I stopped there because what I'll do for this section of the guitar is I'll film what I'm doing as I go. I did this side off camera because I was doing some experiments and I wanted to see what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And I thought that would just be kind of boring. So I skipped it. But just to recap what I've done, I started with the repair. Let me just zoom you in here. Right there, you can sort of see that little mark. Let me zoom you in a little closer if I can. Okay. So that's one of the marks. You can see there was two, a small one and a larger one here. And that's showing up well in the light. Depending on what angle you sort of look at it, it almost disappears, but it is there. And that was the little crazy glue spot that we filled in. So just to show you what I mean, bring the light in a little closer. There, you can sort of see it almost disappears. Like there's a small teeny little divot there, but that's really just lighting differences that you're seeing there. But in this case, it's good because we can see and I can show you what I'm talking about. So I started here and I started with an 800 grit sandpaper and I was sanding that area and it was working, but it was not taking off as much of the scratches around the area and sanding down that area as much as it should have been. So I moved down to 600 grit for just this area here, and that worked really well. And then I went back to the 800 and did it again, and I was happy with those results. And then that's when I did the rest of the back of the guitar, and I went from 800 grit to 1000 to 1200 to 1500. Now, there's a little trick I learned, and this I got this little tip or trick off of another YouTuber. His channel is Highline Guitars. His name is Chris, and he's got a really cool channel. He is a builder, and he builds all his guitars. He's got some really cool custom stuff. But the trick I learned from him is when you're wet sanding, like normally I would, in the past, I've gone in circles, which is kind of how I've always done it. With varied results. The thing with that is when you're going in circles and you're moving up in grades of sandpaper, sometimes it's hard to tell if you've removed the scratches from the previous round of sanding. So if you're unfamiliar with how this works, basically you're going to start at, say in our case, we're starting at 800 grit, and I sand that section of the body. Then I'll move up to 1000 grit. Now, when I move up in grit, what I'm doing is I'm removing the scratches from the 800 grit. And then when I move to 1200, I'm removing the scratches from the 1000, and so on, as high up as you go. Um, but like I said a second ago, sometimes it's hard to see, like, what scratches am I looking at? Is that from what I just did, or is that from the previous sandpaper? So what Chris recommended, and I've tried it a couple times, and it seems to work really well. And I did it here again. Is I'll just show you with my hand. What you'll do is you'll go in one direction with your sanding like this, and then when you change grits of sandpaper, you'll move in this direction. Okay. Now what that does, when you look at the guitar in the light, like, you're going to have to lift it up and hold it and get a good angle on it, what you're going to see is, if you're still seeing scratches, like if you started with 800 this way, then you move to 1000 this way, if you're still seeing scratches in this direction, well, you haven't removed all the scratches from the 800 grit round with the 1000 grit round. So you'll just keep sanding until those scratches go away, and all you see are scratch lines in this direction. And then when you move up to the 1200, in this case, you go back to the other way. So you're constantly changing directions every time you change grits, and holding it up to the light to see, how well have I removed my scratches. So yeah, nods to Chris for that tip. That's a really good tip, especially if you're a beginner, because it can be really hard to tell, like, what exactly you're doing. And if you go through all the grits of sandpaper and you start polishing and you're still seeing all these scratch and swirl marks, you did not sand enough of the scratches out with your different rounds of sandpaper. So that's where we're at now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop at 1500. I'm going to get my buffing pads and stuff out, and I'm going to run the Meguiar's 105 over a section of this, and I want to see how well that removes these scratches. So we're at about 1500 right now, and this dull matte finish, this is normal when you wet sand. Okay, this is how it's going to look until you start to polish. So if you're new to this, don't freak out. This is normal, because what you've done is you've taken off a fine layer of the clear coat, like you see over here. I haven't touched this area yet, so this is normal. And it is a fair bit of work. I mean, I've had to do those passes 3 or 4 times for each grit of sandpaper. So it does take some time. So just be prepared for that. And another little tip I forgot to mention in the previous section of the video, when you're soaking your sandpapers, let's move the camera here. So you can see I've got my papers I soaked the other day, and they have a tendency to curl up like this, which is kind of annoying. But as long as they're still in the water, you're good. You can take a little drop of dish soap. I like to use Dawn, and just put one tiny drop in your water, and just swirl it around. And what that does is it helps lubricate things when you're sanding on the surface. You don't have to do that. It's just a little trick a lot of guys use for when they're doing some wet sanding, especially, is helpful for that. So let me get the buffer set up. I'll run a few passes, and then I'll come back and show you the results. And then we'll see. I may have to do another round of wet sanding and move up to, say, a 2000 grit. I don't think I'll have to, but I won't know till I try this. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so what I've done here is I've polished this section here with the Meguiar's 105, and I've done about 5 or 6 passes. I should have kept closer track, but anyway, 5 or 6 passes here. And let me zoom you in. Okay, this might be a little hard to see in the light, but I'll do my best. So you can see the reflection of my light in the finish here. A lot, like the majority of these scratches are gone. There's a little bit here. Just move you over a bit. In this area here, you can see. Now, that's because I wasn't really focusing on that area. There was a bit of overlap from the buffer, so it took a little bit out. But really, the section we're focusing on is more the back third of the guitar here, sort of where my light is. So if we zoom in, get some focus here. I'm not sure if it's going to focus too well on that area, but hopefully this comes through on the camera. Like there's basically no scratches here at all. There's a tiny bit around the edges here at the bottom, but keep in mind this guitar was pretty scratched up back here. Our little repair that we did is right here, and you can kind of see it in the light. When you run your finger over it, it's nice and smooth, but you can still see a little bit of the mark there. But there's not much I can do about that now. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's on the back of the guitar, and it was just to prevent the crack and the chip, the little divot from turning into a big chip, and then all the paint chipping out. And one other thing I noticed when I was polishing is down here, there's another little divot right here. Now, I did not notice that before, and it's very similar to the other ones. It looked like something just maybe banged it or something banged into it. And, there's a little chip. It's about to, become a chip at some point. Like I can feel the edges of the chip, like where it's gonna chip out is what I'm trying to say. So I think while I'm doing this, I might put a little bit of CA glue around there for the same reasons we've did the other repairs. I don't want this turning into something ugly and more of a pain to fix down the road. It's easier just to put a little CA glue on it, do a little sanding to smooth it out, and just there you go, leave it alone. So I'll probably do that at some point in the process here. But I just wanted to show you where we are at the moment. So this seems to have worked. I think we're good with the 1500 grit sandpaper, buffing with the 105. And keep in mind too, we still are going to apply the Meguiar's 205 when this is done, which should help remove any final smaller scratches and just bring up that shine and make it look super cool when it's all done. So just as a quick overview, wet sanded and polished with the 105 here, wet sanded in the middle, this dull section here, and over here is the section we haven't touched yet. And here's the other repair, which I will record the wet sanding process. I'll just show you like one pass of the wet sanding because it just is the same with different grits, and there's no point in filming it because it'll just take too long and it's boring. So that will be next. Let me just reposition things and we'll get on to that. Okay, so I'm going to wet sand this little repair area here. And because of what happened with the other repair job, I know I'm going to have to start with the 600 grit for this particular job. So what I'm going to do is grab my Tupperware with the sandpapers. I've wrapped my sandpaper, where are we? There we go, on the block like that. Okay, so just so I can hold it, I'm using the firmer end of the block, the blue end, so I have a nice flat level surface to sand with. So all I'm going to do is just dab a little water on the area like this, and I'm strictly going to focus on the repair right now. I'm not going to do the whole thing because this area here needs the 600. The rest of the guitar, I think we can get away with 800, but well, let's just see how it goes. So for right now, I'm just going to lightly sand this area here. Now I'm going in little circles just for making sure I cover that whole repair. I mentioned previously about going in one direction and another. I will do that once I'm finished with this repair. So I'm going to just wipe off the excess. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. So you can see, like, you really can't see that mark anymore. This is all from the sandpaper. There's a little area here I have to touch up just to blend it. Let me just zoom in with my light here. Oh yeah, there's a little shiny spot there. So what that is, that's a small little divot, like it's a low spot on the body. So, you can keep sanding to get rid of that, but I'm going to leave it because hopefully when we're all done and we're all finished sanding and polishing, that little shiny spot will just be as shiny as the rest of the guitar. There's no point in taking off more than you need. So I think that's fine. I think I'm just going to go around this area a touch more just to blend it in. Water on there. Yeah, you know, I think I might just do this whole area with the 600. No, you know what? No, I'm just going to move on to the 800 now. So yeah, let's do that. If I'm not happy with what the 800 is doing, I can always move back to the 600. So I'm going to get a fresh piece of 800 out of my tray here. If I can find one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is a fresh piece of 800, and I'm using the same block, the same hand position. So now this is when I'm going to start doing the directional passes. So I'm going to start with an up and down pass this way. You know what? Let me zoom you out a bit. Okay, I'm not going to film this whole thing. I just want to show you a few rounds of this. So I've done this area up to with about 1500, this dull section in the middle, but right around here, that's where the sandpaper was kind of overlapping the unsanded section. So I'm going to have to go over that again to blend everything and get everything, you know, nice and uniform. So I'm going to start this way. You want to be careful around the edges here. You don't want to burn through the paint. This guitar has got a nice little bevel on it all the way around, like a softer rounded edge. Or some guitars, it's a hard edge, and you know, you go like that, and that will be enough to like take some of that finish off. So just be careful. Go slow, especially around the edges here. A little safer on this guitar because of that rounded edge. And you can see this kind of a white residue, liquidy thing developing. A little bit of that is the dish soap in the water, which is for lubrication. And we are removing a very fine layer of the poly that's on this guitar. And that's also going to show up as white. So then I'm going to take a rag and I'm just going to wipe off the excess water. Just like that. You're going to see a little bit of color coming off too. So that's normal. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And I can see right around here where I stopped sanding, there's still some lines going this way from that overlap I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to hit it again in this area here just to kind of blend everything together. And I still have to do up in here as well. But that is the process. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it is a bit dull, but just I always tap a little bit of water on. You can use your spray bottle if you got a spray bottle, but because I'm doing such a small area, I'm just dipping it into the water where I'm holding the sandpapers. And again, going in that same direction, focusing more on this middle section here where I saw those lines, the scratch marks. And this is something you'll have to do a few times to get a feel for it. Like I moved my hand this way, but I'm still sanding in the same direction. It's up and down motion. Feel it kind of grabbing a bit, so I'm gonna put a little more water on. And once you do this enough times, you'll kind of get a feel for when the sandpaper is, you've kind of reached the maximum amount of sanding you're going to get out of that particular grit. Like it'll feel a little different, but it can be a bit deceiving too, because if you put a lot of water on, it'll feel real slippery and almost like you're not really sanding anything. It's kind of hard to describe. You'll have to do it a few times to know what I mean. And be careful in this area here with these holes. Don't want water getting in there. I've already sealed them with the CA glue. I mentioned that earlier in the video. This guitar, pretty safe on the back because there's no ferrules and holes to go through the body for the strings. It's a top loading bridge, so we have a lot of bare surface area to sand and not be worried about water getting in anywhere. Okay, this rag is ready for a replacement. Okay, so yeah, so that little line in the middle is gone now. And I'm not sure if that's showing up on the video. I'll zoom you in here. Okay, so this little section here, you can see it's slightly darker. That's where I was doing up to the 1500 grit. So just ignore that little piece for now, and you can just kind of focus in this area here. You can see those lines going like this, the direction of my finger. So the next round, I'm going to move up to 1000 grit. I would be going this way with my sanding. So the lines would show up like that, right? And that'll help you determine if you're removing enough of your scratches. So that's the process. I'm going to do the remainder of the guitar here, around the horns, kind of being careful around here. To be honest, I'm probably not even going to sand this area at all because the neck plate cover will go here, and you won't see any of this anyway. But I'll get close. You don't want a dull section, but just be mindful of these holes. You can plug them up with something if you want, but just go easy and do these sections here with the 800. And then, like I said, I'll do the 1000, 1200, and then the 1500, then move on to the polishing, just as I showed you on the other section over here. So that's it. I'm not going to film the whole thing because it'll be a super long video and be kind of boring. But I'll come back when I'm finished and show you the finished back of the guitar with the 105 layer of polishing completed. And then we'll move on from there. Okay, so I finished buffing the rear of the guitar with the 105 compound. And as you can see, it's got a pretty good shine on it already. I was able to remove a lot of the scratches. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get 100% of them out, but I'm really only seeing those scratches under pretty harsh circumstances. Like I need to put my light in just the right spot and look at just the right angle to see a few scratch marks. A couple things I wanted to show you before I move on. We had our 2 repair spots. I'll start with this one here. And you can sort of see this one in the light here. Right there and right there. I'll zoom in. Okay, so here's our repair spots that we did. This was the big one here, and these are the smaller ones up here. I'm not too happy with how this one came out. It's a little more noticeable than I expected it to be. But again, we're looking at it under very bright lights. So let me see if I can show you what I mean. If I turn all my lights off, I can't turn them all off, otherwise it'll just go black. But let me zoom you out, give you a better idea. So under normal lighting conditions, like what you're seeing here, now let me turn that off. I mean, it's fine. I mean, you really can't see it. It's a tiny little white dot. And again, that's the light reflecting off a little divot in the paint, I suppose. It's a little bit of a low spot. I'm not really sure what that is. But again, at a casual glance, you really can't see it. It's nice and smooth. It's not going to chip out. That was my main concern. It's on the back of the guitar, so no one's really going to see it. And the other one up here came out really well. And to be perfectly honest, I can't even see where the repair was. It was in here somewhere, but I can't even see it anymore. Let me see if I can zoom you in. The camera goes all blurry if I go too close, but you can't really see it. Yeah, you can't really see it too well. But anyway, like I can't see it at all. Like I'd have to check the previous video to see exactly where the repair was because this one came out really, really good. I'm very happy with that. So I'm not sure what happened on the other side, but I'm not going to sweat it. And like I said earlier, I got most of the scrape marks out, the scuff marks, and a lot of the sanding marks are gone. Again, I don't even know if this is going to show up on camera. There's a little bit in here. No, I mean, I can't even see it on my screen right now, but I can see it in the right light at the right angle. But again, compared to what it was, it's like night and day. So I'm going to leave it there. I've done a total of maybe 9 passes on this guitar, and that would be for 9 passes for the entire thing. Like I did it in sections, and then I kind of had to overlap those sections to blend everything in. So I kind of lost count of exactly how many I did, but I'd say per section was probably about 9 passes. So I guess next time if I were to do something like this, I might not stop at the 1500. I might take it up to 2000, which would make the polishing step with the compounds a little less intensive, I'm thinking. But I'd have to try that to see. But again, no big deal. You do have to do a number of passes with these compounds for them to really get in there and do the job. Like doing 1 or 2 won't do it. You're going to have a scratched up guitar. So you need to do this several times. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on was this little spot I noticed. I pointed out in the last section. I was originally going to fill that and sand it and kind of polish it and buff it with the rest of the guitar. But after I looked at it a little closer, this little depression is actually a lot deeper than I thought it is, or it was. So what I did was I just poured a little CA glue around there just to seal it up. I decided I'm going to leave this for now because it's deep enough that I'd have to drop fill with the CA glue, 3 or 4 times. Let that dry. It's on a tricky area to scrape, so there'd be very light scraping with a razor blade. There'd be a lot of sanding, and it would kind of, overlap into this whole section, which is a little sketchy, being right on the edge of the guitar where that little rounded edge is. Very good chance you could burn through there. So you know what? I think I'm just going to leave it for now. Can always come back and tackle that another day. But yeah, I just put the CA glue on there to prevent it from getting any worse. So just going to leave that for now. So all that's left to do in this step is to polish the sides of the guitar here, which I need to do with the 105. And then we'll move on to the 205, which is more the polishing stage of the compounds. So I probably won't film that whole section. what I'll do is I'll just maybe film a brief intro, show you the products and the polishing pads I'm going to use, and maybe do a small section just to show you the difference. But I don't know if it's going to show up well on camera. So, but regardless of what happens, we'll take a finished shot of the guitar once it's done with the 205. And yeah, so that'll do it for now. Okay, I've finished polishing the sides of the guitar with the 105. Now we're going to move on to the 205, the finishing polish. We're going to be using the Meguiar's 205 Ultra Finishing Polish. And we're going to be using the buffing pads as well, same as before, except we're using a different pad this time. This pad isn't as coarse as the one we used for the 105. This is used, I guess this is classified as a medium to fine grit pad. So we don't need to cut as deep, and this particular polish isn't as high of a cut value as the other one had. This one's a 4, the 105 was up to the 12. So really all we're doing here is removing any fine marks. Any deep scratches won't be really taken out with this, but it will give it a nice, really deep shine. So I'm going to do a small section here just to show you. I'm not going to show you the whole guitar because it's the same process and it is kind of boring to watch over and over again. But same procedure as always. I'm going to take a little bit of water just in my hand like this. And I'm just going to dampen the pad. You don't got to soak it, just get some water in there. And make sure you shake up your compounds really well. I've already shaken this one pretty well. And I usually apply it right on the pad. You don't need very much. I'm just doing you want to do small sections at a time. Don't try and do the whole guitar body at once because this stuff will dry if you leave it on too long, and it'll just be a little harder to get off when you go to wipe it down. So I'm just going to do this back section here just to show you. Normally I'll just kind of go like this just to spread the polish around like that. And when you start for the first time, make sure you don't go full blast on the drill. Go slow just to spread the compound around, and then you can bring it up to speed. So I just went in little figure eights in a up and down motion just to get some consistency and some evenness to the compound being applied. Now I'm just going to wipe it off with a clean microfiber towel, rag. So I mean, I can already see a difference. I'm not sure if it'll show up in the camera, but I'll try and show you. So this was just one pass. So I can see my line right about here. And you need to kind of be in the right light, but it is visible. I'm not sure if it'll show up, but I'll try and show you. No, it doesn't look like it's really visible in the light, unfortunately. But take my word for it, it's there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to repeat that process and just kind of go in sections. I'll probably do it in thirds. So I'll do the middle third, then I'll do this section, and then I'll come back and repeat. So I won't need to do as many passes with this compound as I did the 105. Maybe 3, I think, for each section, and see how that goes. And if I'm happy with that, great, we'll move on and we'll do the front and then we'll do the sides, and that'll be it for the polishing. So I'll stop the video there, and when I'm finished, I'll come back and give you a final look at once it's done. Okay, all finished with the polishing now. Finished up with the 205. Did the front, the back, and the sides. I'm very happy with how things turned out. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on camera, but you can kind of see the reflection of my light in the guitar. Um, it's a little different in person. It's a very sharp light, image of the light. Looks a little fuzzy in the camera, but I'm not sure if it'll really translate well. No, not really. But I think you can see for yourself just the reflection you're seeing with my rag in the background there. I'll try and move it around a bit. So I'm very happy. Those repairs are not quite as noticeable as they were before, but this one here is still a little bit, tiny bit there. Looks more like a little white speck than anything else. But again, it's under pretty unforgiving light. In normal lighting, everyday lighting, and you're playing, you really won't see that, barely see it anyway. And plus, it's on the back of the guitar, so not going to worry about that too much. I'll flip it over and show you the front. Back you out a bit here. So again, same thing. I'm happy with how this turned out. I didn't get every little scratch off, but considering the way it looked before and the way it looks now is quite a big difference. And there was no wet sanding done on the front. This is all polish. So this is all Meguiar's, the 105 and the 205. And that's as far as I've gone so far. So the next step I would normally do is put a coat of the guitar wax on. But I'm going to leave that for right now because I still need to put the electronics and stuff back in. And I think I'll just leave the wax for just before I'm about to do that. So for right now, I think we are done with the body. So I'm just going to put it aside. And then I think we'll move on and let's take a look at the neck and take a look at those frets because they do need a little bit of attention. So yeah, I think we'll do the frets next. Okay, that's it for this part of the video.